Today, we're going to tackle a huge paradox in project management. You know this idea that if you want to go faster, you have to lock things down, tighten control. But what if that's just completely backwards? So let's just ask the question straight up. If you want to hit your deadline sooner, is the answer to implement more rigid, high-control systems? I mean, it sounds right, doesn't it? More oversight, more check-ins, that should make you faster. But is that what the truly fast organizations are actually doing? Well, the answer might surprise you. It's a big, fat no. When you actually look at the most successful product teams out there, you find that neither extreme works. Not the super high control top-down management, and not the chaotic, no-control free-for-all you see in some startups. The fastest projects have found a kind of sweet spot, this perfect balance between structure and agility. And to really get our heads around this sweet spot, we've got to look at the two parallel universes that project teams seem to live in. There's the world of normal teams, and then there's the world of the best. It all kicks off with a completely different way of thinking. You know, normal teams are basically stuck in that old iron triangle idea, the belief that you can have fast, cheap, or good, but you only get to pick two. So if they want to go faster, they just assume quality or budget has to take a hit. But the best teams, they're playing a different game. They know that every single day they save has such a massive, enormous impact on profit that it's actually worth spending more money just to save time. They'll literally pay to save a day. And this, of course, changes everything about how they see the project schedule. For a normal team, the schedule is just a report you send up to management. It looks backward, and let's be honest, it often gets a little polished for the audience. But for the best teams, the schedule is a forward-looking driver. It's the actual tool they use day in and day out to manage what they're doing. And that leads to this huge difference in commitment. Normal teams just kind of accept that delays are going to happen. You know, a 6-month slip is a surprise, but it's not a shock. The best teams, on the other hand, make the schedule king. Slipping the date is just not an option, period. Instead, they become masters at hunting down and killing any waste of time in their process. And this slide just illustrates the whole thing perfectly. Up top, that's the happy schedule from the normal teams. It's all optimism, it ignores all the risks, it's basically built on hope. And you can see how the urgency only spikes way at the end, when it's already a disaster. But down below, that's the fast time to market schedule. It's based in reality. It builds in risk from day one, which creates this constant, proactive urgency that pushes the team to pull the schedule in, not just react when things go wrong. So how do the best teams create that constant, proactive urgency? Well, they use the single most powerful tool that normal teams try their best to ignore, the gap. The gap is actually really simple. It's just the honest-to-goodness difference between your target date, that's the date management wants it done, and your schedule date, which is the date your realistic plan says you'll actually get it done. Normal teams just pretend that gap doesn't exist to make everyone feel good, but the best teams, they put it on display from day one and use it as fuel. I love this quote from the research because it just says it all. Why would you create a happy schedule that you know is a fantasy? Acknowledging the gap isn't being negative, it's just being real. It's the very first step toward creating a plan that can actually work, because it forces everybody to face reality while you still have time to do something about it. Okay, so embracing the gap is the mindset, but the best teams also have a really practical system for managing it. It's this continuous cycle of planning, refreshing, and pulling in the schedule. First off, they don't waste a ton of time creating some hyper-detailed plan for the entire project right at the start, because they're not naive. They know things are going to change. Instead, they use what's called macro-micro planning. They build a high-level macro plan for the whole thing, but they only break down the next 6 weeks or so into super-fine micro detail. It's just incredibly efficient. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. That plan isn't some static document that sits on a shelf. Every single week, the team runs a refresh cycle. They look back to update their progress, they break down the next chunk of work from macro into micro detail, and this is the most important part. They actively look for ways to accelerate. They're constantly trying to pull the schedule in, recover any time they lost, or even bank some time for later. And what you end up with is a totally different culture around planning. Get this, the best teams actually spend 3 times longer on planning. But it's not some chore done by a lonely project manager. The entire team owns the schedule. They treat planning like it's a design review for the work they're about to do. And it's a super fast, low overhead weekly rhythm, like 30 to 60 minutes a week, not some huge, painful event.
Of course, you can have the best system in the world, but it's pretty useless without the right people organized in the right way. And this is another place where best and normal teams are just worlds apart.
See, normal organizations build their teams around functions. You've got your hardware department, your software department, your marketing department, and everyone reports up into their own vertical silo. This just encourages everyone to look inward. The best teams organize around cross-functional project roles, like a system architect or a system integrator. This structure forces everyone to focus sideways on the product itself. The ideal setup is a small, dedicated core team of maybe 5 to 7 people who own the project day to day. But, and this part is absolutely crucial, they are supported by a steering arm of senior executives. And the job of these execs is not to micromanage. Their job is to serve the team by breaking ties and, most importantly, clearing away all the organizational roadblocks the core team can't solve on its own. Getting this team in place is priority number one. The best organizations will fight to get their absolute most competent people onto these critical projects. They'll mix internal folks and external experts just to get the right skills. They get that getting to market fast is way better protection than trying to keep everything a secret. And they give the project everything it needs, all the resources, from the very first day.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. At the end of the day, it really comes down to a fundamental choice about what your schedule is for. Is it a driver or is it just a reporter? The best teams have this incredibly powerful way of reframing it. They say their schedule isn't a historical report, it's a flight simulator. Think about that. It's a dynamic tool they use to practice, to explore different options, to test out what-if scenarios, and to fix problems before they're in the middle of the real battle. And the difference is just night and day. A reporter looks backward. It tells you what already happened. A driver looks forward. It helps you manage what's coming next. A report is a tool for management. A driver is a tool for the team. One is outdated the second you print it, while the other is alive, it's real, and it's accurate.
And really, that's the ultimate takeaway here. The difference between normal and best, between being slow and being fast, it's not about tighter control. It's about being honest, about team ownership, and about a radical shift in how you see your plan. So the question you've got to ask yourself is this: is your schedule a driver, or is it just a reporter?